There's no more debate. Tesla is now an AI company. In fact, the only mega cap physical AI company on earth. Elon Musk is promising robotaxis with no safety drivers in just a few months, expanding into more cities, full self-driving so advanced, maybe you'll be able to text while it drives. He's going to go all in on cybercaps, and he's promising to ramp up vehicle production 50% next year. So what does this mean for the stock? We've got the bulls here with us today. We got the power bull, the queen, Tesla boomer mama, Alexandra Mertz. We got Jeff Lutz, the rational bull, Mr. Incredible. And we got James from InvestAnswers, the analytical bull. So guys, welcome. I appreciate everybody. We had an incredible week last week, but today the stock dropped. I think it's $28. James, maybe you could start off by helping explain why this happened today.
Yeah, I think it's a confluence of reasons, a perfect storm, but the main one is kind of a little bit interesting in a chart I'll share in a second. But first, there was, fear that Cathie Wood sold, I think, 0.6 or 1.6% of her bag, and that freaked out the market. She's supposed to be the big Tesla champion. And he said, "Oh, I'm selling." It's like, huh? But you say the price is going to $2,700 in 5 years and you're selling? Well, people don't understand that, but they don't understand how they allocate their funds. Once they hit a 10% threshold, they have to offload some. Then there's the broader AI market fear. Bubblicious talk, as I call it. Everybody's still freaking out about that. And as the whole downdraft is taking everybody down, then the pay package, there's so much confusion out there. People, I'll put something on X and people write a comment, "Oh, they're cutting him a check for $1 trillion. It's like, oh. And then mainstream media is piling on, and the level of toxicity out there is like nothing before. Can you imagine what happens when the stock goes to a $8.5, $10 trillion market cap and Tesla runs everything? Then you're going to see next level toxicity. And I want to say a big shout out to Jeff as well for defending the brand like no other all through the night, every night. It's incredible. And the final thing is the chart I'd like to share. If I could pop that up, Herbert. This is this one. And shout out to Williams as well, who inspired me to dig this up. We did have a gap back on the 15th of September where the stock shot up. We all know the reason why that happened. But there is a thing in TA where gaps often tend to be filled. It happens 80% of the time after a gap. It's like, imagine a big magnet bringing the price back down to fill that gap. You see it a lot in crypto. You see it a lot in stocks. And 80% of the time, they do get filled. And that gap was just filled months later, nearly 3 months later, which is special. The other thing as well, the good news, after a gap typically gets filled, it reverts back up again. So there are the, 5 reasons for the stock being down right now. And just to put things in perspective, everybody, 6 months ago, the stock was $200. Now it's 400.
So how low could it go, James?
Something to that. Sorry, give me just a second. Give me just a second to add to that. So to ARK Invest, they sold 4 of the last 5 trading days, and yet it didn't go down the other 3, or it didn't go significantly down, especially the first one, which was where they sold most of it. And you're completely right. They have a policy. They can build up an issuer, a stock, up to 10%, and then they are promised to their institutional investors, because lots of the ARK Invest funds are actually churches and very conservative investors. So once they have the 10% threshold, they cannot add anymore. It can go higher. The prospectus doesn't prevent them from being higher, but it's the promise to their institutional investors. So my feeling is that in ARK-K, the largest fund, they were at 13.5. They're trying to bring it down to 12. We're nearly there now. And in ARK-W, they ran up to close to 12 and they brought it back to 10. We're at 10 now. So, this just happens. Of course, there were moments she ran it up to 16. Fund management is something where you also have to think of what is your short-term opportunity in other stock. And she may think that Tesla, which is still her number 1 position in those 2 ETFs, is great, but there may be some better short-term profile somewhere else. So if that is the reason, it's completely ridiculous. I'm not a chartist, so I give you that. And just for keeping everybody informed, because I also always do that, I today, for the first time in a long time, went back into margin and bought 100 stock on margin. My cash is all in Tesla anyway. And we'll just see whether that works out. If not, if I'm going to stop loss at 375, if that ever comes there, and if not, I let it run upside as much as I can.
Bold move. James, how low could it go? Because I've heard the technical analyst said if it breaks through 400, it can actually go all the way down to 360. I don't know where these numbers come from, but that's what they said. What's your numbers?
Yeah, there's a thing called layer 5 on ATR, which is about 375. So Alexandra, I'd put your stop loss at 369 if you have to have one. 375 could hit.
Okay.
And then it'll bounce right back up. That's actually a technical
You
support
took his
level.
advice before. Turned out to be right?
And he was always good, I have to say. So 369 it is.
Yes.
James, when did you become Alexandra's stock of advisor?
We all work for the queen.
James.
We all work for the queen, so.
I love James. And you know what? There's actually a lot of people from your universe reached out because I'm Monday in Palo Alto and said, oh, I met you because James is on your channel or you're on James' channel, whatever. Love James. And so I want to meet you. So I'm going to meet some of your followers next week.
Oh, very interesting.
Right.
And if you get closer to the little north, we can get together. So think Golden Gate Bridge area.
No, I'm going to stay in Palo Alto. I have a Tesla investor, not institutional investor talk in the evening, so I have to stay in Palo Alto.
Awesome. And away from the wine
James, when in your intro, what did you mean when you said that Jeff was defending the brand? I know he does. I know he goes after bears, but what did you mean?
Oh, when people FUD Tesla and FUD the comp plan, I mean, this guy is a hero. I try and do some defending as much as I can, but Jeff, you are a machine, man. So kudos to you. It just makes me so irate when people spread such complete BS, and they need to be taken down, and nobody takes them down better than the Mr. Lutz.
Mr. Lutz.
Yeah.
Okay, well, just a quick, this is Cyber Bulls, and then so last Thursday, when we were all at the annual shareholder meeting, we had a lot of fun. So I just wanted to share some photos for the folks who didn't get to go. This is, let me remove that. This is us in front of the at Giga Texas with the Cybercab. This is Tessa Joy. She was able to join us in that photo. And then we had us right in front of the annual shareholder meeting, and we were just getting ready for the event to happen. This is
I love this
Travis.
one, Travis.
Yeah.
He's
Travis
so cute.
Axelrod. He's the investor relations person for Tesla, and thank you. I'm sure the thanks goes both ways, but he did thank the Tesla retail community and, of course, Boomer Mama for all the work that she does. It really did impact Tesla, and they recognize it. The board and Travis absolutely recognizes it, and that's me. He finally knows who I am.
He
So that's
does.
good. And then this
watching
is Ira. Ira is the longest running board member, and we had a very good conversation with him, with the team, and so he's again very thankful. And then there is the chief financial officer, Vaibhav.
Yeah. Oh, he
Kind
reached out to me and said, "So you're criticizing my English," and I'm like, that's embarrassing when you go against somebody and then you meet them. And I mean, he's such a nice guy. And I said, in those earnings calls, already the audio they improved it, but it was so bad, right, for a long time. And then what Vaibhav says is really important. Lots of people have learned to give Elon slack on, when he says 2 weeks, it's whatever time it is. But what Vaibhav says is very precise, and he is he's very prudent in his words, and you can count on them. And it's a shame that it's so difficult to understand. And it may be because English is not my first language, and obviously English was not his first language. So that is a big bridge to but I mean, we made friends and that was cute in the end.
Yeah.
But he brought it up. The first sentence was like, "That's you, right?"
And the reason he did is, and they all individually told us that they actually, the executives and the board members, watch this show. So what we say here, they hear, and so just that was good news to hear.
And the thing is, Herbert, we talk, sometimes it goes through my brain and sometimes it doesn't. So when you then reflect and think, oh, maybe they're actually listening, maybe I should watch my big mouth a bit more.
No. I mean, obviously, you have done heroic work for Tesla, and so we just keep doing what we're doing. Be the big mouth that you are, or we are, as you say. That's your words. I had the opportunity to ask a question at the meeting. I asked them 2 questions. Okay, I asked them. The first question was, how does he think, and how did you predict the 6 billion miles of FSD miles driven before you can actually get to regulatory approval? Because that turned out to be prescient, exactly correct. And how did you know that XAI or that they needed to create their own AI chip, and whether or not those AI chips happen to be also be able to use for not only cars but bots and data centers? He answered for 5 minutes. Then the second question, I asked them about having a cyber bull, because I said there is a cyber bear. They just launched this. This is real in Fremont Design Center. There's a cyber bear. I said, why can't you have like something like this? This is AI created, a cyber bull in Giga Texas, and he said yes. So what we're hoping is, that we get to go there and like photo shoot on its unveiling and maybe even sign it, right? Because we are the cyber bulls.
So cute.
Oh, that'll be fun. Yeah. Just to be clear, people go, you had one question. You asked them about that? No, that was my little...
It's crazy. Same for me, because I asked for this bigger venue. And I mean, my gosh, did the haters came out. It's crazy. Don't do that. Don't do that. It doesn't matter. Whatever you do, there will always be people who are not happy, and you just have to do your thing. That is it. And you did well, Herbert. We're very proud of you.
Thank you, guys. Awesome. We haven't heard from Jeff yet. So before we go to the agenda, Jeff, thoughts on what's happening right now in the stock and anything you want to start off with, your intro?
Well, if you just look at the market today, there's a broader sell-off. The market was expecting inflation data. It didn't get it. The expectations for that inflation data, I think, would have been at a full year, maybe 17-month high at 3.1%. Yeah, so inflation is going higher. We're at 2.3% earlier this year. Who knows if that's, transitory or if that's something that's more sticky. And then coupling into that, you had a lot of Fed speak over the last 48 hours where the individual Fed governors got up in front of microphones and basically said they're not sure about cutting in December. And a couple of weeks ago, it was a 96% chance of cutting rates in December, and now I think it's a 50-50. It's moved down dramatically. So those two events coupled together, and then you had this, awkward interview of Sam Altman a couple of weeks ago with Brad Gerstner, where he kind of awkwardly answered a question around forward leverage of AI assets, and you couple all these things together. But really, it's in the last couple of hours or days, it's been the Fed speak, and it's been the fact that we're not releasing data about the performance of the economy. And there's underlying concerns that, on the last data release of jobs, it was already kind of tightening up and not looking so great. And then the non-government sources relating to jobs don't look that great in terms of some of the other sources where we get that data from. So the market wants rates to reduce. And now you have the Fed governors actually saying the opposite. I think that caused a fair bit of consternation, because if you look at the stocks that went down, it's the ones that have their earnings in the furthest distance from today. Those took they're either levered, they're either directly attached to AI, or their earnings are levered furthest in the distance. And you see of companies like Tesla and some of the AI power and battery storage names, they got hit pretty hard in that. So I think that actually makes sense. Stocks don't go up every day. There's bad news out there, and the market reacts. Some stocks react with a higher beta than others. So from there, you just have to go to the individual names and understand what you own and what time horizon you can own it for. So nothing changed. And now you go to the fundamentals. So you have macro, you have technicals, which James went through in a couple of examples really well. And then you have fundamentals. So did something change in the last 24 hours fundamentally with these names? Are we stopping? Are we not going to build data centers at the pace that we said we're going to build data centers? Well, the last check-in with the hyperscalers 3 weeks ago said we're increasing spend, in the next year. So there's been no change in that. So I think the market gets in these little fits when it hasn't heard from some authoritative source. It's just all of a sudden it starts thinking through these various scenarios, and it's run up a lot. So I think you have those confluence of events, but I think, Wednesday, NVIDIA next week, I think that'll be another good data. I think there's a better spokesman for the state of AI and the demand for AI than Jensen Huang. I was looking at a stat today that in 2023, the forward revenue projections for this year were 38 billion for NVIDIA and AI, and I think they're going to print 205 billion. So it was an 86-cent EPS prediction for the year in 2023, looking at 2025, and I think they're going to print over almost $5 in EPS. So they've definitely put their money where their mouth is, and they've performed. So anyway, I think a confluence of events. You have to let it pass. You have to know what you own, understand fundamentals, understand technicals in terms of entry exit points. Take it from there.
Yeah, great segue. Thanks, Jeff. Because despite the stock dropping, I've been seeing more and more of these analysts and big whale investors, and they're referring to Tesla now as an AI company, but more importantly, as the physical AI company on Earth. And so that narrative is changing, but the stock is still kind of wavering. James, did you want to speak to that? How Elon, basically the event last week could be that bookend that really, really moves the game now for Tesla, and we're at the beginning.
It was incredible. And first of all, sorry for not being there. It looks like a great show, but I was tied up with other stuff. But it was a brilliant, brilliant meeting. And I love the way he embraces retail shareholders. But yeah, it's a bookend. He's been talking about the new book now for over a year. And now we're seeing more of that whole new book. One of the things I find quite striking is he is obsessed with effectiveness and efficiency. So if you look at the AI chips, the AI 5, AI 6, all the way to AI 8 plans, not only do they want as many as they can possibly get their hands on, but they want to stick them in all the different devices, the car, the robot, the data center, which is incredible. And that takes me to kind of the next topic I think we should touch on, because I'd love to hear. One of the big things we heard just before the annual meeting was all about how their technology and their AI recognizes the real world. And this whole realm of spatial AI, I think, is not to be understated. And to my knowledge, there's no other company that has the ability or has been collecting data like this for a decade. This is kind of shout out to Sanjay as well, who we work together closely. He believes, the next evolution for artificial intelligence is in the 3D world to be able to navigate stuff. So if you look at the LLMs, they can look at text and regurgitate text, all great, but they've got no comprehension of what's happening in the real world. And that's where the real value is. So you've got the future of Tesla. And the reason I'm pointing this out is who else does this? Their cars understand 3D worlds. They understand weird edge cases, like from a leaf to fog to a deer to a small rabbit on the road. And I've seen all these examples. They can navigate spaces, manipulate objects, predict physics, like what is the impact of rubber on asphalt when the asphalt is wet, interactive learning, listening to cashiers, and all of this embodied reasoning. I think this is completely huge. And I think it's very understated. I don't think people quite realize the value and power of this. When you look at all of their chips working in all of their devices, and all of their devices now having AI that can understand the real world, I think it's huge. So they're not just building cars, not just a car company. They're building the foundation of real world intelligence. I just would love people's thoughts on that, because I think it's very understated.
Yeah, we've just scratched the surface. Someone asked, me if we're in a bubble, and what my response to them was, well, have you even heard around of the applications of AI in manufacturing? Have you seen it implemented? Have you seen it, get to extreme, placement in manufacturing? And there's so many different things that can be done from a manufacturing perspective, supply chain perspective with AI. We haven't even scratched the surface. Medical, medical cures, disease cures, and so forth. There's so many different things that we just haven't scratched the surface on. So anyway, like I said, these things are gonna happen. When I look at just the capability of AI and what can actually happen, I just to my take is we're in probably the second or third inning using a baseball term. And there's just so much. There's probably possibilities we haven't even thought about yet. But at the same time, everything needs to be grounded in terms of what are these investments and when are they going to start showing a real return. And I think if you look at what Tesla's doing, Tesla has a product in supply and already in mass distribution in all of the economic zones in the world. It's there, and the software just has to come in and basically energize that product and and give it its capability. You've seen what your car can do just from going from the 12 series to 13 series to the 14 series now with FSD. So I just think we've scratched the surface. And I think from a Tesla perspective, they're positioned with high confidence. That's the thing, with high confidence to really extract value from AI.
Yeah. And Jeff, well said. And when Robin said, yeah, we've licked autonomy, and Elon Musk said it, and a Wall Street analyst said it, like Adam Jonas. Now it's time to take it. The real special nugget, I'm probably not being very eloquent in how I'm explaining it, is the same silicon in different devices can navigate the 3D world to do everything. And I don't know if people realize like when you see all these little robot company demos out of China, oh, they look great, don't they? But really, do they create their own silicon? Do they have their own AI? Do they have 10 years of collecting data and videos and edge cases of navigating the planet and, identifying what things actually are? I think that is the real power of this company, and that's not priced in. I see you nodding, Alexandra. You seem to agree too.
Wait, I was nodding a lot more than she was, but okay. Go ahead.
Is this a
Alexandra.
nodding contest?
Please proceed. Yeah. Please proceed, Herbert. Please proceed. Why were you nodding?
You're the queen. You can go first.
No, I let you talk for once.
All right.
Go ahead.
For the great table. Thank you for putting this together. It's a great way to organize our thoughts. But you're dead on. Of course, it's not just about language and videos. This capability that Tesla has is it can read words anywhere. It understands the 3D world. Like he's saying that these cars and bots can actually understand the context. It knows that there's fog. It knows that, there's a fire truck, and it doesn't just see, blobs on screen, pixels, and going, okay, I better not go there. No, it understands the scenario. And so what this then sets up, and I totally agree with what you're saying, James, this isn't just cars, and this isn't just humanoid bots. This is anything with a video camera, with a CPU that has learned things from Tesla's neural networks. It will become intelligent. Anything. And so there's going to be like all sorts of different devices. This is just the beginning of it. And who can do all that? Who can create those things and be that intelligent? And of course, it's one of those things that's a network effect. The more that one learns, then everybody learns. All the devices, edge devices, whatever you want to call them. So this is a great way to put this.
Good.
Go ahead,
Yes.
Alexandra. Yeah.
No. I mean, there's nothing I can add because you said it very well.
Wow.
Actually, I should keep that strategy. You actually do this good.
Okay, and one thing we've all learned from Jeff as well is they own the whole stack. They've created the whole stack. It's completely vertically integrated and deployable on anything, anywhere on the planet at the same time. And
What did you think? What did you think about the chip manufacturing idea?
Oh yeah, I have a slide for that too. We know how good he is at estimating things 8 years out, like demand and everything else. He also has a very close eye on the competition. He knows he just needs all the chips he can get his hands on because he can deploy them anywhere, and that's what's special.
And can you imagine? You remember 3-4 weeks ago when he said the Samsung partnership and that he over the weekend walked the Samsung factory? I mean, I can just see it. Him walking out of there and thinking we can do this better. I can just, you just show the guy one solution. First of all, he already improves it in his head, and second, he goes, Tesla can do this and can do this better. And I mean, that's the CEO I want. That's the key person I want. And does it come with risks? Yeah. Does it come with ups and downs? Yeah. But that's the person I want my money in.
Yeah. And the other thing that's fascinating to me is boxing out any competition. So imagine somebody creates a platform or a robot or whatever, but all of a sudden they've got no access to these chips. Jeff, how long would it take to spin up, what is it, 100,000 wafers a month? What exactly does that mean? And how long to configure that into your software stack, into your device? Tell us from your cell phone experience.
Yeah, these are all long lead time items. These are all high capex items. So this announcement from Tesla isn't without risk, isn't without capital risk. Not every foundry is profitable. Not every operation makes it. And that's why you see this concentration of business between, TSMC, Samsung, Global Foundries. There's a couple of them, but you see this concentration, and with concentration, you have pricing power. TSMC's raised prices. I mean, they've had some very big price increases over the last year, just with what they've been doing with NVIDIA and Blackwell. And, NVIDIA can absorb some of that because they're charging, their 80 OEM customers, 70% gross margin. So you've got supply concentration risk. You've got contractual and pricing concentration risk with these fab partners. And you also have geopolitical risk in the future with these partners. So if you're Elon and you're thinking broader, you're not just thinking about of making a quarterly P&L, you're thinking about the future you've laid out. Your plan to $8.5 trillion. And what you want to do is you want to look at potential bottlenecks and you want to get in front of them years in advance and create the solution for those and deploy them as needed. So I think that's what they're doing, by the way. And, you've seen them lock up supply with Samsung. They've locked up supply with TSMC. This is certainly going to help, I think, in the capacity negotiations, pricing negotiations, because yes, it's years out from them doing this, but they're asserting themselves as a player in this. And I think it's actually going to help them. And he's run this playbook before with batteries and other components. But in the end, if you go back to this term of, we use this term vertical integration all the time. But what does it mean? It means vertical integration in engineering. That means you have all the assets under one roof, under one leader who's making the priorities, and you've reduced that latency between idea generation and application, problem identification and solution. You've eliminated that latency. You're not calling between buildings and companies. You're not the 15th priority on a list of 50 other customers to NVIDIA. You're number one. So that's the engineering side of vertical integration. The supply side of vertical integration is very similar. You're not a low priority on someone else's list. You dictate the production schedule, the capacity. You also take on more risk by doing that. But in both of these situations, you're eliminating margin nodes that exist for other people in this space that may or may not allow them to compete in the future. You're eliminating those. So if you have the capability of doing these, this is why you vertically integrate. So I think this is a big deal, but I think also investors should understand that this is going to take a while to play out. And it's going to take a while. Just because they start production doesn't mean they're excellent in silicon fabrication. Excellence will take some period of time. But what this does for Tesla is it gives them a supply outlet and a contractual pricing negotiation. It gives them increased leverage. He already had it based on his stature in the industry and based on the volume of products he's putting out. But this gives additional leverage and it potentially eliminates a bottleneck in the future.
Great. James, masterclass. Thank you, Jeff. I could listen to you forever. I learned so much. James, did you want to talk about Terafab? And did you have a slide on that, you said?
Yeah, and I don't know where it's gone. But the point was, no, it's not. It's in the deck, or it was in the deck, or I forgot to include it in the deck. It's separate, so it's not here. You can hide that for now. But I keep thinking about everything that you hear. Oh, the Chinese have robots and everything else, but really, they don't have, like many of these small little point robot producers, developers that do proofs of concept. They don't have this whole stack. or the vertical integration or the silicon. And it goes back to, oh, well, NVIDIA, they're developing a chip for self-driving cars and they're working with 100 partners and they're going to solve it too. It's like same thing. And it goes back, Jeff, you said very eloquently, I call it fingers in the pie, not profit nodes. When there's everybody has their fingers in the pie, it's a real problem. Nobody actually makes money. It's a race to the bottom. And it's the same thing.
I wouldn't
we're
go
seeing
that
with
far,
drones.
James. I wouldn't go that far. I mean, obviously the Chinese are leaders in electric vehicles today. So when they set their mind to it, the entire system, the government, the country goes after it. Tremendous amount of money. When it comes to AI, did you not guys hear?
Oh, yeah.
Jensen Huang said he thinks that the Chinese are going to be the winners.
Absolutely. But
So they don't have access
goes
to
back
the chips,
energy. Yeah.
but they figure things. They got the energy, and they'll figure out the chips. And maybe the sometimes when you have a disadvantage, not having powerful chips as everyone else, what do? You invent something that has a low latency, low power needs, low, just be able to get enough done, and all of a sudden you shock everybody, right? Who knows? But that's what Jensen Huang said. I don't know if you believe what he's saying, but I typically do. So I wouldn't,
He could have
and
also
they're the
said
manufacturing hub of the world, right? So
he could have also said it as a warning shot to the U.S. It's time for you guys to get your act together. And there's no doubt the Chinese are great at manufacturing at scale, but they still don't do it the smart way from everything I've seen. You look at the financials of BYD and all that type of stuff. Jeff's knocked that horse to death a million times. The question is, what happens next? Okay, they weren't able to match anywhere near the capabilities of Tesla in making EVs. Who says they can do it with robots? That's the big question I'm grappling with right now. And with the level of vertical integration, the stack, the silicon, the ability to have spatial AI, nobody else has that, as far as I know. Yes, they'll get close, but will they win the March of Nines, as they say?
it's like Apple and Samsung, right? So incredible product, Apple does it, but the market is so big, not one vendor can do it, and then there's space for many others to come in to do the second, and then eventually they catch up, to the main things.
And the other question is as well, when you talk about robots, will they be allowed to Chinese be allowed to deploy robots in the U.S. security?
And maybe vice versa.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, of course.
I had one moment I watched a couple of times since last Thursday, which is, I think, if I remember right, around the 1 hour 20 mark, where he explained that AI 5 and then AI 6 are going to be so much more efficient because they're tailor-built for Tesla's needs, and they will be 10% of the price of NVIDIA's. And I think that was a pitch not only to us shareholders, convincing us, what a good investment it is, but also to competitors in the self-driving car field or humanoid robot field, meaning saying, you know what, jump on board of FSD now. You're getting it at a price that you will never even dream of compared to what you would have to put into that. So I think we also have to always understand how many people are watching this. It's actually funny because on Thursday evening, by the time we got home, which fair enough was already quite, 2.5 million people had viewed it on YouTube already on Thursday evening. So you can imagine now. And what he says, it's not only us analyzing it, it's all the competitors all over the world. It's all the suppliers of different products. And there were messages and nuggets for all of them. There is no doubt in my mind.
Yeah, for bots, if there are going to be billions of bots produced annually by 2030 or 2032, rest assured that there will be multiple regions and vendors producing them. But it is going to come down to the capability and what business model is ultimately enabled by the product. And so if you just look at iPhone, the iPhone creates a completely different business model for both Apple and for its users than other phones do. Other phones dead end you at certain levels, and what Apple does, that's why they have a tremendous margin share in the industry that they're in. Other people ship more phones. There's 1.3 billion phones shipped per year, and 200 million and change are iPhone. Well, what are the other 1.1 billion? So it's going to be something like that. It's not going to be a zero sum game. But it's going to be different than the past. It's not going to be this globalized supply chain. Everybody source from somewhere and we'll send it everywhere, and certain regions get enriched and certain don't. I think these are going to be localized supply chains, and we're going to break that cycle, and it's going to take a little bit longer probably to get to sustainable volume, but we will get there. And this is going to become a national security issue. There's already, you're going to put something in your place of work or in your factory. It's going to have eyes, it's going to have data connectivity, and it's going to have local inference capability. So there's going to be a security element to that. And so this is, prepare for a new world, and also prepare for a world where today Tesla produces for consumers, right? I've talked about the different sales channels, build to order, which is what they started their company with. And then they got to so much demand for their product, and they had to produce larger factories to take the cost structure down. Then they went to build the inventory model. And now we see them going to a build to fleet model for robo-taxis and rentals and so forth. Maybe we'll talk about that in a bit. But I actually see in the future with bots is there's going to be a larger and larger channel with the government. The government is going to have to pick a couple of winners and locally source those winners to have humanoids in government, in the military. And I see that in Tesla's future more than anything. I think you're already seeing it with SpaceX. And I see that in Tesla's future. And nobody's really modeling that yet, but it's far out.
Okay.
Okay.
No, yeah, there's a lot there.
Are you processing?
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay.
There's a lot. No, I love the way you explained all the different sales channels and the way that Tesla moves and where it's going to head towards next. I'm intrigued with your comment about the government needs to choose, and I hope they do, because I haven't seen the U.S. making any moves. China's certainly doing it. U.S. supporting Tesla, maybe? U.S. recognizing that Elon is actually a security, national security, not the risk part, but like the solution to the risk. Support.
I think they do. I think we had enough periodical statements of President Trump. Elon was harsh on him. Let's face it as well. I support Elon all the way, but there have been moments where would have been better to think 2 seconds before posting. And President Trump has come back again and again and again, stating whoever asked him how much he values Elon, how important he is to America, how important he is. So I don't think we have a political problem. We may have a political problem if in 2028 the Democrats are back, but even they are coming back. So I do feel that on the political and regulatory side, it all takes much too much time. Of course it does. But he explained it very well Thursday. You just have to go ahead. You have to prove. The proof has to be in the pudding how much safer this is. No politician can refuse to give safer tools to their populations. And that will even end up being the case in Europe.
You might be shocked what the politician might do.
No, I don't think so. I think there will be enough pressure, not only from Tesla investors. And it's much too early for that. What was the number? At the moment, Tesla has already saved 35,000 lives.
Yeah.
35,000 is a small town. This is crazy. And I don't believe there's anybody out there who understands that other than us who are attentively listening. So this number will grow. Videos like the one from Clifford will make the rounds. He will be on CBS shortly. He's taped it this morning. So there is, there's something building up for FSD, and that is just the first of so many other steps. So I see comments going, oh, will we have a rally before the year end? Who knows? We're in the middle of November. In 6 weeks, stock prices can do a lot of crazy things. If your belief in Tesla depends on a 6-week horizon, this is not your stock. Elon can say something crazy. President Trump can say something crazy. The Fed can do stuff that's crazy. And all these things, you can have your scenario right. You can be right long-term on Tesla, but it may not materialize within the 6 weeks you're hoping for. So that's not how stock investment should be. James is much better at explaining that. But, I just hope everybody stays, healthy and keeps their belief in the medium and long-term Tesla and doesn't need to have these short-term wins for happiness and health.
You guys are all good. Thank you. And then, James, did you want to continue on with the other two questions you had for competitive landscape for Tesla?
Yeah, well, regarding the landscape, I think we've licked that to death. There will always be
Okay.
competition, just what flavor. But going back to some of the stuff that Alexandra just said regarding, Elon, his popularity. I mean, one of my biggest concerns that nags at me is the Musk Industries have so much power on the planet, global comms, robots, autonomy, etc. And now he's considered this evil trillionaire. What happens when workers start getting displaced? Headlines are bad now, but what happens next? That's one of the things that kind of scares me. The world is not ready. He's always spoke about makers and takers, and that is also so true. But that is also a concern I have for the future.
I'm doing a show with Larry Goldberg, and he wrote out the hard numbers. He figured out the hard numbers on exactly Elon's impact to the U.S. economy, and so it's pretty big. I mean, so he said that his companies in the last 5 years, they funneled hundreds of billions into America's pockets, 111 billion in salaries. That's enough to give every person in LA $27,000 each. 46 billion in taxes, and paid out another 173 billion to American business, like the suppliers, the U.S. suppliers. That altogether, that's 338 billion in just the last 5 years. So these are, we got to you got to share these numbers to let people understand. This is not about one person making money as a shareholder, because he did that only because the companies he created were so impactful. Customers needed it, energy and autonomy and cars and so forth. And AI now and space, all the things are so important that Starlink, for example, people appreciate that. But he's making business, he's creating employees.
And
he's
Elon
just only one
retweeted
employee of 120,000 employees for Tesla. Imagine all the other companies, right?
that gives me an idea for Mandani's socialist plan for New York. Why doesn't Elon create FSD buses so everybody gets free transport at a very low cost? And then he becomes a hero, and then give them free internet as well. Yes. He'd be a legend all of a sudden.
A hero, right? Because they want a free bus because of the disadvantaged people who can't afford it. Yeah. Well, then let's roll out robotaxi and have it to be equal to the price of a bus. In fact, like you said, maybe just offer for free if there's a way to know.
Set up some free Tesla restaurants as well.
Elon has said it's a great irony in all of this is that the solutions that his companies are creating are reducing the price point of all of the things that they're working on. So if it's space travel, and if it's reusable rockets, if it's autonomy at 20 cents, eventually terminally getting to 20 cents a mile. I took an Uber from, where we were staying in Austin to the airport. It was $12 a mile. There was options at $9 and $8. I think the range was like $7 or $8 into $12 a mile. So the irony in all that is that is the solution to reduce prices for people, so people can have more affordable outcomes and ability to enjoy things in life. Is you need these people that are creating these industries and creating this path to do that. And so when you have these people working on these things, you got to give them some air. So I think that you just have to have rational conversations with people. Would you rather have $338 billion of value and jobs created, or would you rather just randomly limit someone's compensation and net worth because it makes you feel better? Which two would you have? Somebody creating bigger pies, or you want to just micro slice what exists? And so that's the conversation. I think you can have it in 10 seconds or 12 seconds, and if you can't, then you're probably not delivering it the right way. But also don't think it. Some of these things are so deeply held, like some people just aren't even thinking clearly or rationally on these things as well. But I think James is right that there's a risk in that, and there's a risk in how AI is perceived. There's this thing called AI doomerism that's out there. It's a real thing, and there were sentiment measures done in China on how you think AI is going to impact your life, and it's literally the inverse. They're like a 70-30 or 80-20 positive in China, and we're the reverse here. And you have the media, honestly, they're fanning those flames, because a lot of the jobs that could be impacted are related to, media, Hollywood, so forth, script generation, you name it. So I don't want to
Who
get too
are,
far down
who
a rat
are
hole.
and
What?
who are by nature risk adverse people, right? Because they're in a typical employment environment where everything is like nice and cozy, and they just don't want to take risks. They're hardly entrepreneurs in those fields. But I was actually thinking about that the other day. Remember when telephone operators were sitting there, plugging those sticks in? We went from that to that, not an Apple phone, and how many people lost their jobs then? And how many jobs and how much convenience did this create? How much more is happening today, including me being on my phone while I talk to you and doing 3 other things, right? How much productivity was gained? How much more are we doing today? And yes, there was job loss then. There was job loss then because the ladies were not plugging the things in, and there was no operator, and you couldn't call. How was it when you could call and somebody else paid for it? I mean, all that stuff.
Call connect.
Exactly. And so, things will change. And the attitude to this change, Jeff is completely right, is still very much influenced by exactly those that should have for years now feared for their jobs because they're useless at what they're doing anyway. But they are still, feeding this fear and this whole mongering of, oh my God, the billionaires will profit and everybody will starve image. And, we have to be the ones educating and showing with many, many examples, not only cars, not only phones, but how actually technology is creating more jobs and the efficiency for all. And, people are not getting poorer by this. Our living standard is as high as it's never been. There's nobody who's left out because there's no telephone operator anymore. So we just have to do a good job at educating.
Yeah, and I don't know if people are aware, because I just don't think the numbers are so opaque that it's hard. I just put it in plain English. Our middle class, from a manufacturing perspective, was hollowed out because today our average labor rate is somewhere between 20 all in, including all kinds of comps, but $26 to $35 an hour non-union in the U.S., and it's literally 1/10 of that in places like Vietnam and major and non-major cities, I would say, in China. And so I study this pretty in-depthly. There is a path with AI and robotics to actually normalize that. So there would be things that we could produce in the US and export globally that we couldn't do today at that wage disparity, where we take the labor and capital efficiency balance and we move it towards a reduction in need potentially on low skilled labor, and you move it over to automation and AI and humanoid robotics potentially. And there is a path to actually normalize that competitive disadvantage that's been subsidized actually by several countries overseas. And they've taken that and they've hollowed out this middle class. So I go back to the AI doomerism piece. Just be careful, what you're consuming in media. Triple source it. It may be true. There are definitely risks and downsides to the implementation of AI. No one's saying it's great, but just understand that China and other countries are going full bore on this. And the quicker they get there, they're going to reduce their cost structure even further because their labor costs have been steadily increasing over the last 2 decades since they took a lot of these jobs. So I just think if you just remember that this is the great equalizer, what we can do with humanoids, what we can do with AI, and reinvigorating electronics manufacturing, auto manufacturing, device manufacturing in the US today, where we've been at this competitive 10x disadvantage in labor costs. There's a chance here to basically negate that and turn the US into an exporter. So anyway, this could be a whole show within itself, but I think we've just been talking about Tesla and where they're going. From a roadmap perspective, everything they're doing aligns well with this, but both making transport autonomous and then making other types of robots autonomous moving through the world.
Yeah, and to layer on top of that doomerism stuff, there was that statement on superintelligence last month, signed by Steve Wozniak, Sir Richard Branson, Steve Bannon, Glenn Beck. I don't know how Susan Rice, who these. I think I know some of these people, but they were all. They just basically want to say ASI should not be made until it's proven safe or controllable, or never be made at all. 2/3 of them said that. Do you think the Chinese are going to sit on their hands and not do this? While the US tries to put a lid on you can't stop technology and evolution. You have to embrace or die. That's it. But we've seen some countries around the world that have already put a lid on it. And now this group
you
in
don't
the
have to
US
go as far as Sam Altman. That's all there was. Sam Altman made that decision 2 years ago.
Anyway, it's world is going to change very fast. So embrace it or.
Oh, so what's on your list, James? You want to talk cybercab?
Well, yeah, I think when I listen to people, what their big thoughts are is what is the next catalyst for Tesla stock price? Because we shot up to nearly 500, and everybody's wondering what happens next. This is a very unusual Q4. Normally markets are on fire, but people forget the government was shut down for a record number of days, which sucked a lot of liquidity from the system, which means nobody has money. People get margin calls when things go down, and then it becomes a spiral, like a death spiral. And that's what we've just been through. And then the Fed are just so stupid. I have no words for Jerome Powell. It's like, oh yeah, we think inflation is high, so we may not cut rates in December. But at the same time, the job market looks okay. No, it's not. The job market's a disaster. And the government is shut down for 45 days, so they don't even have data. So what data is he looking at? All he needs to do is pull an ADP report or go buy some blueberries at the store. That's all he needs to know around inflation and jobs and everything else. Anyway, the whole thing is nonsense. But I think people want to hear what is the next catalyst. I think it's the ramp of robotaxi. We've got to get a very close eye on that. See if they get to 2,000 vehicles by the end of the year. If they can go from 20 to 2,000 in 6 months, you can extrapolate that and understand exactly how far they're going to go next year. Autonomy is solved. The cybercab is ramping in April. I think all you need to do is be patient with the stock. Things are really going to kick off in 2026. So that's my view of the big catalyst that's next. And then, of course, if we see version 3 of a robot coming out in early 2026 too, that'll help, but it's going to take a long time to ramp. I think cybercab is the magic bullet here. Thoughts?
I would just add one thing. I think it's a good list. If they get to the 8 to 10 cities of coverage with robotaxi and maybe remove the safety monitor from the oldest city, the city that's been instantiated the longest, Austin, I think there'll be a reaction to that, because the next highest vendor of robotaxis in the US, I don't think they've gotten to their 10th city yet. I think to get to 8 cities, it took 5 or 6 years of operation. So I just people to understand, if Tesla gets to this, it would be in 6 months, and the next operator of robotaxis, it took 5 to 6 years, I think. So you just have to understand these things, because what the media does, I'm sorry, Herbert, the media does, and it's on purpose, is they don't discuss the element of time, and they don't discuss the path of acceleration or the slope of a line. And so it's why you'll see existing, how many different Waymos are out there today, and then you see how many different well, wait a minute, one started years ago. And that's why it's really important in these situations. The better way to look at this data is to look at the acceleration factor and look at the slope of the line versus looking at today's numbers. And that's how people invest. And that's how markets think. Markets look ahead 6 to 9 months, and they look for the pace of growth. They don't look at how many were out there today on November 13th.
Yeah, today Waymo said that they now have 2,500 robotaxis in a fleet, 1,000 in San Fran, 700 in Los Angeles, 500 in Phoenix, 200 Austin, 100 Atlanta. That's 2,500 vehicles. And then they also announced that they're now going to do highway driving. Elon replied saying, "Those are rookie numbers."
Well, I think Tesla and Elon have lit a fire under Waymo, because they're accelerating much faster than they would have if robotaxi didn't exist. Anybody else agree with that?
Oh yeah, for sure.
I just don't think
I
it's going to
mean,
matter a year from now. I just don't. I don't
No.
think it's going to even matter. I just think it's we're in this 24/7 news cycle, and this is kind of very low IQ reporting from the media, and I just don't think it's going to matter a year from now when you look at the rate of acceleration and what Tesla's doing. But I mean, they have to execute. They have to continue to execute. Elon talked about the kind of things you have to think about as you increase the number of cars, you're increasing the probability of things happening. And then where do these things go when they're not picking up a customer? And how are they being led to charge? Like there's this whole operational back end that needs to scale. And that we're seeing the leading indicators in the hiring.
Yeah. And by the way, I think somebody was able to extrapolate out how much Waymo is actually losing because they have a category of their skunk works in the Google earnings. And they lost about 1.3 billion in Q1 on 400 million in revenue.
Just one quarter.
etc.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
not going to go better.
Exactly. So they're
At the moment, there's little competition for them, right? So there's still
Exactly.
a factor of people wanting to try. And then what happens once? I mean, I always ask this question: what business model? If the car is 200,000, what's the business model? It just doesn't work. It's cute. It's nice that Google threw it in there. I'm actually very thankful that they're going to all these regulators in all these different cities and getting the job done, making it easier for Tesla to be number 2 there. But the wave that's coming at them, oh my God. I mean, not that I should feel sorry for Google, but how much more money do they want to throw down there?
What is very impressive though with Waymo, and credit where credit is due, their ramp of rides is going to the moon. And it just shows you nobody wants to share a car with another human. Nobody, even if it's twice the price. So,
People are accepting this. People are, that's very important for Tesla and the robotaxi business. And it's part of the calculus of when Tesla has reliability and quality experts looking at this data, that their engineers looking at it basically. And you're always trying to think about what is the probability of an incident. Well, you understand the performance of your software, you understand it in testing, and then you understand how many miles you're driving and how many devices or units you have out there, and they understand these probabilities. So that's part of the balance here is how good can we get the software and the models so that we decrease the likelihood of an incident ever occurring. And as you fill out that area under the curve, you can then put more cars out as the performance of the release gets better and better. So that's what they're dealing with as well.
And one thing I want to say, somebody close to me was in a car crash yesterday. You were nearly in a car crash, Jeff. Herbert, you met somebody at the show that nearly died in a Cybertruck.
Clifford. Yeah.
So now you have such prevalence of FSD. There are actually documented video cases of FSD saving Tesla influencer lives. Can you imagine how many cases we don't hear about? And that's why I think Elon is also so confident about how, we need to increase production by 50% next year because these cars will sell themselves. That is the kind of ChatGPT moment for cars. Basically, jump in and just sit in the back and sleep. That is just, and it's changed my world. It's changed Larry's world. He drives across the country all the time, and I don't know how he does it, but that's I do want to double tap into that because if anybody's considering a vehicle and they care about their life, because it's not how you drive, it's the idiots on the road you're sharing the road with is the ones that are going to kill you. So that's very important to stress, I think.
Well, Tesla exposed in developing FSD, Tesla exposed their weakness, and their weakness is awareness of their product and what they build. And the software and the product had to get better over time. Like it was always the best thing we've ever. There's implicit bias, by the way, in user testing, especially extensive user testing that's done over a couple of years. I want to be very clear, especially for the bull investor community. So every release we were getting, we were kind of clutching ourselves. Oh my God, this is amazing. 5.4, it's amazing. There is bias that happens, but that's when you have to couple it against, well, what is the next best thing, or what is the standard that's out there, and that's human driving. And we've seen this gap steadily grow in terms of the safety performance with FSD engaged and human driving. And so it has exposed a weakness of Tesla, though, which is awareness. And Elon even said that there are people that have paid for the FSD package that haven't used it or activated it in their vehicle. So they have the ultimate challenge here. So they've done all the hard work, the magic of FSD, the creation of FSD, which is creating this thing at a price point.
Oh, we lost them.
Sorry about that. I pushed. Can you put him back?
Yeah, hold on.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Was that
I'm
the
sorry.
cane?
Yeah.
No, I was all eager to say something and I pressed the wrong button and I removed you.
All right,
sorry.
Jeff.
That was the cane.
Yeah.
Just put the cane out. That's fine. No, I'm just saying they've done the hardest thing on the planet imaginable, and now what is easier for other companies to do, like Tesla, has to now figure out awareness. Please start testing it. By the way, start testing for awareness, and then go fix the problem. I'm sure they will.
Yeah, and you're very right to do that, and that is actually the skill I think that Tesla is the weakest at, because we may as well, say what they are good at. Not typical engineering thing. I understood how good it is. I made it, and now you please, live up to it and understand by yourself. And you just cannot do that. You have to educate. And I don't know whether it's going to be ads or it's going to be, celebrities using it and posting it. They will figure it out. But this is the typical thing that happens between engineers and the rest of the world. They think because they solved it, the rest of the world will understand it. And the gap couldn't be bigger because, there are the crazies like us who try it and love it and can't live without it anymore. But most people just stick with what they know and don't want to take any risk. And especially in a car, which is obviously a life and death situation, think, oh my God, I'm not going to press this button now. Nobody showed me what's going to happen. And so the hurdle to make these people give it a try is enormous. And one thing, and I heard CERN say the same on your show beginning of this week, Herbert, each of us who has a Tesla, please take your neighbor, please take your friend, please show, obviously also with the hope that they purchase a Tesla, but also to reduce this enormous step between what's this technology. It's one thing buying a first smartphone. Oh my God, I did it again. I did it with my elbow, Jeff. I just did it with my elbow. I'm sorry.
Look at that eyebrow.
And on top of that as well, it's bizarre. Andrei Karpathy, the guy who created FSD, you could argue, just tried it out. He left a year ago or something.
On V13, not even
and
V14.
it blew his mind.
I want to
created it.
So. I want to ask you guys though Elon's thesis, which I think actually makes a ton of sense. Okay, he's thinking and said, okay, we've created this incredible technology called FSD. People who try it love it. How come no one else has figured it out? I think he's figured out. He's saying that the killer app is texting. Yes. If you can tell somebody you can text while you're driving, that's what's going to get them to buy the car, want to have the car, try out FSD. It's not about safety. It's about I can text, of course, safely. But
no, when he said that's live in 1 to 2 months. When he says it's live in 1 to 2 months, is that Elon 1 to 2 weeks?
No, but let me. So Omar explained it to me where I think his idea makes sense. So my thinking was, oh, you think that within 2 months is going to be unsupervised FSD? Me here in Washington State, I can drive wherever I want and sleep in the car. That's not what I think Omar is suggesting. He's thinking that it's going to be still supervised. I'm still supervised, but they're going to reduce the nags so that I can text. If the car thinks that it's getting into a scary situation, it'll then beep you and mag you, says, okay, you can't do texting right now. You got to focus right now. That's different than unsupervised FSD. That makes sense to me.
More accepted.
Reduced.
Okay.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the nag is
I totally see that.
Like with the eyes when you're driving, like in the Cybertruck.
And you can do that very gradually, right? You can, so that initially we may not even be really aware and then get it. Because honestly, at traffic lights, it doesn't nag. I mean, I would never admit that at traffic lights I take.
No, we all do, right? Traffic light. Oh, got 2 minutes. Okay, I'm going to look at it, right?
Exactly.
But it used to. But it used to.
Yeah, it's
so
dangerous.
dangerous.
2 or 3 months ago, yeah.
This is what you do in engineering to satisfy regulators and solve the user problem, which is you still have the monitoring and it still works and it's still functional and effective, but you make a better user experience, but you're still satisfying regulators.
Yeah, and I think that's the exact point, Jeff, because they have to still make the driver legally responsible. Like imagine getting hammered and sleeping in the back of your car and getting pulled over by the cop. What's the cop going to do? He's going to make you legally responsible. So I think that's why they're in this transitional autonomy right now, which makes
I also want
complete sense.
to explain too that remember when Tesla tried to give away free FSD and all these people, including my cousin and one of my brothers, tried it out. This was like a year ago, and they had a very bad experience. And so I came in there and go, hey, my car just drove me all the way for 3 hours to here in this restaurant, and it was like free. No, I know FSD. I tried it out. It was no. It's a new version, and you got to try it again, and you have to have hardware 4. So they did it too early. Now, once FSD version 14.1.7 comes out, and they're going, okay, this is it. It's so good. Now they should go mass commercials, mass, getting out there and telling people you can text and drive. That is going to be the thing that they should communicate as fast as possible.
Isn't that 14.2 rather than the 1.7?
Yes,
1.7
14.2. Yes, I'm just saying that 1.7 seems like it's already solved the braking issue. So everybody's screaming how great this is right now.
They may need a rebranding exercise too, just something to think about.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been called
the FSD word. Yeah.
I mean, it's been
Shouldn't
called
be called
FSD
FSD.
for 4 or 5 years. So maybe that's the next contest we have: is how would you rebrand it? What would you call it? Again, this is not a
self-driving
strength.
is good enough. Just self-driving. Drop the full.
Maybe.
I call it Elon driving. When I go in my car, I say, Elon, drive me to LA. And it's true. It's true.
How many of you guys, somebody asked me this question, how many of you guys, when you're driving the car's driving you using FSD, and it does something, you go, good car, good car.
All the time. All the time. And I love it. I'm like, oh, that was good. That was really good. And
I
then
do too.
I always think, are they watching me? Of course, nobody's watching me. But then I straighten my skirt, right? And make sure I sit there. I mean, so stupid, right? But that's it.
Yeah. I do it all the time. I go, hey, dude, do you see that? Do you see that guy?
Make sure I sit there all proper. Just in case they're
I don't
watching.
talk to my car unless I'm
know.
putting in a bug report.
Jeff,
but
Jeff, you want me to put you in jail again, Jeff?
I know. He doesn't name his cars and he doesn't talk to his cars. Okay,
yeah,
sure.
you
Jeff.
just knock me
sure.
off the show if you don't. Yeah,
Sure.
if you don't like. What
Yeah,
you're
sure.
doing.
I would not do that again. I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay.
James, do you have quick fire questions? Can we
I do.
Let's do it.
Super fast. Okay.
Yeah,
First one is AI bubble bursting in the next 2 months. I believe there are segments of the whole AI market, especially some of the hyperscalers, some of the adjacent vendors, are definitely very, very bubbly right now and have been for a long time. But the big question is, could there be an AI bubble crash, taking the NASDAQ down 20%? And then if that's the case, how badly does it hit Tesla? I think if the NASDAQ falls 20%, Tesla could fall 25, 30,
Okay.
40%.
Let me address that as first. First of all, I don't think Tesla is in a bubble, quite the contrary.
Oh,
But I agree with you. The whole AI zone is in a bubble, right? There have been people that have been pushed up to crazy valuations, not only on the stock market, but also in the whole venture capitalist market. It has gone too far and needs a correction. And I do believe lots of people actually are lacking the maturity to evaluate this whole market. So can it go back? Can it draw the whole market down 20%? I don't think so. I actually believe that, tariffs are over, the economy is recovering, we're out of the shutdown. I feel there is actually some good fundamentals underlying that keep it up. But again, the big downside moves, you can never predict them. Otherwise, they wouldn't be the big moves. That is just it. So I am taking every opportunity it's going down now as an opportunity to add.
Not investment advice.
Oh, sure, never.
I like what this guy said. People misunderstand AI bubble burst. Yeah, a couple companies succeed, but others will go out of business. I agree with that. There's, whenever there's a big bubble, there's always lots of companies created, and then of course there's going to be hundreds that die, and many of them will die. So a small bubble is burst.
And the good thing about that, I always say winners take most. Yep. When you get a bubble, it clearly identifies the winner, and then all the capital gravitates towards that winner as well. So that's the positive for potentially Tesla, especially if Cybercab ramps early in 2026. Okay. Speaking of ramping, Optimus ramp speed. Discern wasn't here. when, you know, a lot of questions, oh, they're going to get 3,000 next year, or they're going to get 100,000, or they'll never get to 1 million. Where does the truth lie? Like, I've got my own idea, but Herbert, you spend a lot of time talking to robot professionals. Tell me.
Yeah. So I to be clear, Optimus is going to be the single largest
Product.
ramp ever, but it's about question of timing. I think the first 5 years, I still stick with the 1 million by 2030. I think that's aggressive, and only Tesla will be able to do that. No one else can do that if Tesla's lucky and they get everything right. Because all the parts, I believe Tesla's actually making it. I think that they're going to obviously have some suppliers, but for the big parts like actuator, I think that they're actually, the reason why it was delayed this year, you know, remember he was going 5 to 10,000? He made the decision, we're going to make the actuators ourselves. So he spent this year building a supply chain for the actuators and other parts. So it's going to be slow, but then once it goes, it's going to go big because it's unlimited demand and so forth. So I still think the 1 million by 2030 is probably the right number, even if not aggressive. And then after that, I agree with him. He can do the 10 million and then so forth as we move forward.
Yeah, this is passing through such an immense and dense filter for success to make one of these things. I don't think people understand it. I mean, the volume of YouTube videos is one thing, but once the tape stops rolling on the YouTube video, what's the power consumption of that bot per movement? What is the reliability of those actuators? How much more useful life do they have in them? And then how many minutes of machining time were needed to make the actuators for that demo, for that YouTube video? And what you'll find is people are standing up humanoids to get funding into their business and to generate excitement and to get funding. And then they're also standing them up to do real hardcore development work for AI and for software development and for hardware development. And that's what's happening. I think people are just a little bit too ahead of their skis on this one. I think in the US, the leading bot manufacturers will produce hundreds to maybe a few thousand bots in the coming year. And that's a lot. You'll see thousands of these things. It's going to look very different a year from now in several factories. And then from there, there'll probably be a re-rev of product. They'll be working on an Optimus version 4 next year. I can guarantee that. They probably already started all the initial design work, industrial design work on that now. And they'll re-rev for the 100,000 unit version. So I think this Optimus version 3 to me feels like a 0 to 10,000, maybe a 0 to 50,000 type device. And then they're working on the one that can do 100K to 1 million. And that's the way to think of it. That's fine. That's not unlike other revs of major technology. You know, when the first smartphones came out, we had 2 years on 3G infrastructure and 3G modems in them, and then we switched to LTE, and that was a major redesign inside of those products to be able to do that. So these things happen, but that's how I see this playing out. And I said for me the kind of the thesis looking ahead is how many companies can pass through that filter of AI brain, useful hand, and the manufacturing capability. As Elon has eloquently stated, and I agree with it based on that is the filter. And I think if you look at the yield through that filter and how many are going to come through on the other side, it's going to be a fraction of the bots you see on stage today.
That's exactly it. I'm sorry, James, I know I have more questions. I just want to address a comment that I've seen a couple of times. Is Elon going to buy stock again? Let me just put in context when he bought and what he bought. He bought for $1 billion additional stock on September 12th, because that settled on September 15th, which was the date of record for his vote. By then, obviously, they had no information yet. How well this vote would turn out. Not sure he would still consider doing it now. It was the biggest stock purchase he ever did. It was the first one since 2020, if I recall it right. He's not going to buy more. Take it home from me. That was done to have more additional voting power for the shareholder meeting. There was, he believes in this stock, but he doesn't need to move more capital into Tesla at the moment. He has enough. They have now prepared his 2025 compensation package. That was one of the SEC filings. They're going to come soon, probably today, tomorrow, early next week, with the remaining 220 million shares for that Plan B of the 2018. So he has enough shares. If everything goes to plan, and if we win Tonetta, that's also going to come in the next couple of weeks, I hope. I mean, can go much later, but as of next week, we can start expecting an answer. It could take 3-4 months, but an answer is possible. So if we win Tonetta, and if everything goes to plan in that 2025, he will end up with 28.8% of the company. He has enough shares. There's no doubt in my mind.
Good.
One more question, or we're done?
One more question.
Yeah.
I call it SaaS, not software as a service, but service as a service. Again, how is anybody supposed to be able to compete? Because Tesla has their little shops and repair centers all over the place, for cleaning and maintenance and service and charging. I mean, it's just an insurmountable moat that they have out there. Am I crazy? Or is it
no? And he's built it up over 15 years now. You know, once the idea was seeded, and that's what Herbert did so well with his question, asking him, you know, how he thinks so many years ahead of time, and then puts in place all the different infrastructure and the players and the way it is set up. I mean, that is his superpower, and that's why I believe in him. Put all my money in it, and most of you do. So it's it is astonishingly well done. This is a once in a lifetime opportunity.
Yeah. And the only another way that a robotaxi company can match that would be another partnership. You know, partnership with Avis or Hertz, or
we know how that works. Yeah.
I don't think Hertz is coming back. I can tell you that. I think they've been
not with Tesla. Like, let's say Waymo needs to partner with Hertz so that they will have these service centers all over the city, so that they can.
Uber and Waymo is already partnering with everybody. They're
saying.
making no money and sharing the no money they have with 50 other people. There
is one place that Waymo is partnered with Avis or Hertz. I can't remember which one, but they are partnered with them to do exactly that, managing the charging of the robotaxis.
Yeah. But we're talking little penny money. We're not talking anything sustainable.
And it's a sign of the death knell for companies when they start partnering with everybody. It's just clasping at straws. Final question. I tried to pry this from you all at the very beginning. I didn't get an answer. Is there any true AI competitor that can match Tesla across everything, whether Musk Industries or just Tesla proper? Is there anybody remotely close? And please don't say BYD.
I think it's NVIDIA, maybe.
Yeah, NVIDIA. It's probably NVIDIA, but NVIDIA is a little bit too diversified already, in the sense that, you know, they're trying to please so many different clients that their solutions are not as concentrated, not as efficient than in the AI field.
Generalized solution.
Exactly.
Okay, let me. I know Elon said that, which is okay. NVIDIA GPUs is like a master vault, right? But NVIDIA is partnered with 11 humanoid robot companies, and so they may go, okay, I'm going to create exactly the same thing as AI5, AI6. I'll create something like that, a competitor to that. They can do it, and then the reason they have 11 is because now each of those is going to gather video data, just like Tesla is, and so they might get enough video data if they cooperate together. That's the only challenge I can see out there for humanoid robots. Now they can do something similar for the autonomous cars as well.
I think the way to look at it, I don't view actually Tesla is encroaching on NVIDIA's areas, right? Yeah. They're doing their own chip design, and they're even going further than NVIDIA. NVIDIA is fabless, and Tesla here is talking about it potentially building a terafab. I would look at it the other way. Tesla's greatest competitor is going to be Tesla's execution. So because there isn't somebody creating a 20-cent per mile robotaxi at global scale. There isn't anybody doing that, but that's the execution. That's the targets Tesla's put on themselves, and that's what they want to go forward and hit. No, we don't know of another humanoid that has the AI, the internal AI capability, the capability in the hand, and the manufacturing capability of Tesla. So Tesla's competing with themselves in that, honestly. So that's actually the greater risk. It doesn't say that like Tesla doesn't have competition, because I've said all along there will be other robo-taxis, there'll be other humanoids. That's fine, but it's actually their greatest threat is their inability to, if they stumble in execution, that is actually a greater threat than another competitor, to be honest.
Completely agree. And can I put two last little topics here, Herbert? I promise I'll be short. The first one is Proposal 7, Tesla investing into XAI. I do believe this is more or less dead, but it is now currently in the hands of the board. We may need to reach out as retail shareholders to the board again in one way or the other, maybe letter writing or whatever. I'm not done yet, and I don't want to rush into it, because one of the reasons it didn't go through is that we were so rushed end of July. We did what we could in the little time we had, but there needs to be improvement. So just, give us a bit of time to make sure we can handle this out. The second one is I just pinned yesterday to my X account. So when you go on my profile, it's the first post, a survey. I would like to do again, like last year, a collection of experiences on how, the voting experience went with your bank or your broker, and then do a nice table by country so that people that want to change or people that are dissatisfied can read these results and read from fellow shareholders how it went. Last year, we had 1,850 people participating. At the moment, we're stuck at 300, and it was only 2-3 days. But I just would like to promote this a couple of times so that people that maybe are not on X as intensely as we are, please go on my X account, see that survey and participate. And if it is even just to say I was with Fidelity, everything went fine, that is going to be important information for people that are looking to change. Or if you're unhappy, whatever it is, just put it in there. It will become a giant spreadsheet, and then whoever wants to consult it can consult it. And we'll leave the 2024 spreadsheet up as well, so people will have actually two sources of information if they're looking for a new broker.
Wow. Thank you so much, Alexandra. Yeah, powerful, very, very important information. Please do that. Go to our X account. This was fun, guys. That was a lot of fun. Always thank you to James. You always come with tremendous amount of new data, charts, thinking. You've thought a lot of things, a bunch of questions. And then we have Jeff, and of course, you've answered a lot of incredible information there. And we kicked you out a couple times because you're just too overloaded us. Too much.
I can take it.
Incredible.
I'm so sorry.
So thank you guys very much. Tesla investors really do appreciate it. This is a power panel. This is one of the best. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you guys next week.
Thank you all.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you, Herbert.